Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll be making a doll of my personal favorite side character of Winx Club, which is Daphne. I've always loved the design, and especially in the first season, her scenes are very magical and ethereal. So I've always planned to make a BGD of her, and today's the date. There's a lot of new elements to her. For one, she'll be quite a bit taller than my other Winx dolls. And I'll also be trying to incorporate LEDs for the first time. So with that said, let's get started. I have already sculpted her face and her accessories. I try to give the face that more elongated, mature look that she's got in the show. But yeah, let's mix up a skin tone and get her printed. Once I've got all the pieces, I give everything a thorough sanding, after which I spray the pieces with a matte sealant. Something I also do is hot glue suede all the pieces to give them a bit of grip, which allows her to hold poses better. And after that, I can string her together. I really like this face, and the size of her is very fun. Here you can see her next to Bloom for comparison. But we are not done printing yet, so I've mixed some glittery yellow soup for the accessories. Once they're all together, I give those a quick sanding too. And then airbrush some of the parts with some golden and copper iridescent paints. I'm also going to paint this little pearl on the mask red, and add a little magnet that will hold the mask up later. I really do love how this type of paint just accentuates the sculpting. The headpiece and the shoe bases I just sprayed with glossy sealant, which leaves them looking like candy. Now let's get started on the dress by patterning everything directly on the doll. And then transferring that on some paper. Once we've got all the patterns, I create some vector files to add texture and cut that out with my Cricut. On my first attempt at the top, I just connected some satin and chiffon fabric with fusible film and put the vinyl pieces directly on top. Cut them out and then just sew the pieces together. Unfortunately, this ended up being really stiff and just looked weird when she moved. So I just repatterned the whole thing and remade it out of stretchy material, which worked out a lot better. I've also cut out the skirt pieces already and just sewed them together at the sides. Then I take these vinyl stripes and place them along the bottom of the dress. And iron them on. Once everything is placed and ironed, I take a large piece of lining and put it on the good side of the dress and sew all around the hem. Then I flip it and top stitch over that again for a clean finished hemline. Then I take the top and pin it to the skirt and sew over all that to join everything. Now all that's left to do is close the back and add a closure off cam, and the dress is done. Now I still need to make these flowy pieces of fabric on her belt and arms. For the arms, I take my pattern and pin it to a folded piece of fine mesh fabric and sew all around that. Then I cut the axis and flip it inside out. Then I take a thin wire and feed it through to the tip. And then pin everything close to the edge. And then I sew right next to that. I do that on both sides, and now we've got this long posable piece, which I make two of course. Then I take the rings and attach those at the top and in the middle. Now for the belt pieces, I just iron on the vinyl onto some light yellow chiffon. And then cut them out and seal the edges with some Mod Podge. And then just stitch that onto the belt loop. I think that looks really cool, so let's move to the hair, which I used yarn for, which I haven't done for a while, but basically you just brush the hell out of yarn with a pet brush. And then straighten it. And make a whole lot of wefts, which actually takes forever. I already printed a wig cap and just start gluing wefts in the back and at the top to gauge where the pigtails need to go. Then I continue to fill up the back. And also glue pieces in the direction of the pigtails, as well as a piece that I glue to the inside of the wig cap to fold over for a clean edge. Then I actually prepare the pigtail separately by taking two pieces of yarn and rolling wefts around it until they're thick and long enough. Then I cut the yarn piece at the end short and split the ends to make it easier to glue onto the wig cap, which is what I do next. Once that is stuck on there, I tie everything up into the pigtails. And then continue gluing pieces facing down and to the back of her head. I also glue a piece to the inside of the cap right at the center of the hairline, and glue in a magnet for the mask to attach to. Then I cover that magnet with the folded over weft. Then I just continue to style everything backwards and cut the hair in the back short and thin it out with an X-Acto knife. Then I just style the pigtails into little swoops and the wig is done. So now we can get started on the face, which I do very differently this time around by masking off everything around the eyes so I can airbrush the eye base color. I do this because I'm actually going to install LEDs behind them, and once paint is illuminated from the back, you can see every brush stroke very clearly, so I wanted to make sure that I have a very even layer. Once that is done, I take the masking off and start sketching in the upper and lower lashes. As well as the eyebrows. Then I take some pastels to give color to the lips and also layer oranges and yellows for the eyeshadow. Then I give some blushing to the cheeks and nose and forehead. And also add some nostril details, which I soften with a little cotton swab. Then I cover the whole face in micro glitter and seal it. After that, I just go over all the lines with acrylics to saturate them. I also paint in some corners at the mouth. As well as adding some shadows and highlights to the eyes, so it's not just a flat shape. Now some final highlights to the lips. Another layer of micro glitter. Some gloss. And the face is done. On the outside at least. I actually paint the inside of the head black so the LEDs only illuminate the eyes and not the entire face. I honestly know nothing about wiring and stuff, so I just bought this pre-made button that runs on a battery and some LEDs that fit that. I already carved a hole in the back of the head that fits the button, but I elongate it a bit with this silver gem to make it easier to press. Then I just connect the LEDs to the button part, which somehow worked. And then I first super glue the button to the inside, and then covered with hot glue to make it strong enough to not fall off when pressed. I actually lost the footage of how I put the LEDs into the eyes and the back of her head, but I just fixated them with some putty, and you can see that it works. Now I just cram everything into the head, and that part's finally done. All that's left of her costume are the shoes. Given that they're going to be hidden under the dress, I thought I'd just make something simple. You've already seen these shoe bases that have some organic shapes sculpted on them. And I'll just take some golden string and pull that through the holes in the shoe and cross it until it looks good, and then I tie that in the back and seal it with a dab of glue. I think they actually look really nice, so a bit of a shame that they'll be covered, but yeah, that's all. Her piece is done. However, there's one more accessory I wanted to make, which is Baby Bloom. For that, I sculpted this worm because her body's going to be wrapped in cloth. So yeah, I'll just quickly paint her face. I just went in with acrylics immediately because I wasn't going to be super precious about this. Also got to give her some hair. And then I just wrap her in this fabric scrap. I think she's really cute. And that is all we need to do for this project. I really do love how this one came out. I love how tall she is, and also the posable pieces on her arms make her a lot of fun to pose. And the LEDs worked out super well, at least in the eyes. You can't really see them super well in the back of her head. It's only really noticeable when it's completely dark. But still, for the first time working with LEDs, I'm quite proud of it. And yeah, the next project is finally gonna be the first Enchantix doll, so I'd love if you stuck around for that, and gave me a follow and a like, please! And that is all from me, so have a good rest of your day, bye!